You know our aunt and uncle and cousin are in town?
I know. They were here for Katie stuff, right?
Yep.
That's
and
amazing.
They have to look for a house. And they're here because we haven't seen them in 2 years.
To look for a house? Are they moving here?
Yeah, they want to move here, but they haven't.
Which uncle was this?
Uncle Bart, Aunt Sherry, and cousin Chance.
Cool.
My mom's cousin and my mom's.
Your mom's cousin. Okay, cool. Ow. Let me do that. Thanks.
Well, they're my favorites.
Start. So we're about ready for confirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got everything together because I had a lot of people that didn't respond. So that makes me crazy. You're trying to get a to-do list together and then people don't, it's like people freaking right back. So did you find it, Drew?
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to do one more thing for me, please. Can you please go get the 2 pieces of paper that I just sent to the printer?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Drew, could you make me a drink too?
Yeah, while you're at it, Drew. While you're at it. That'd be super.
Chocolate milk on the rocks.
On the rocks. I don't know about that. It's a little questionable when it comes to chocolate milk there, Michael. I'm not sure that should ever be on the rocks.
I emptied out my grinders, so it'd be easier to get to all my stuff.
Good. That's good.
Now it feels a little weird because my grinder is so small now.
Yep. Yep.
Hey, Colson.
Hi, Colson. Good morning. How are you? Okay, then. I'm going
Is this
to.
23? I'm kind of.
No, 31.
Oh, 31.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
Yeah, as long as y'all people don't like trash my house today, and you shouldn't, because lab is super easy, then I'm gonna have Cole's confirmation sponsor over for dinner, so I can finish the last bit of stuff. That's Father Joe. He hasn't even been to our new house, because he had moved away, but he was in New York for a while.
Oh.
Now he's back here. So it's awesome. Ah, darn it. Gosh darn it, Drew. No tip for you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. That should help me a lot. I made little squares for people's money because I could never remember to whom I have given money. Ooh, I need to go get the little peacock out of the way or somebody.
I didn't see it. Oh, that was my brother's. I did not go to that. I went to AHG instead.
Darcy was gonna come to the dance, but then I didn't see her. So it was fun. We had a good time. It was really fun. I still have all the boxes upstairs to put away. You had fun, right?
Yeah, I had fun. I talked to those emo kids for a little bit.
The emo kids? Yeah, there were a bunch of them. Yep.
Emo kids, which, I mean, honestly, it was kind of interesting talking to them. Because there was some stuff, they're just.
You tried. That's okay. They're just, everybody has their thing.
Yeah, it was fun talking to them though.
Drew met some girl from Brazelton who had a fluffy dress and she was so excited to be there. She kept doing cartwheels and stuff on the floor. She was really cool though. She had red hair. Her name was Jordan. Yeah, she was cool. She was chit chatting with Drew, doing cartwheels all over.
Sounds like Ellie.
Yeah. Except she was a ginger.
As when I was talking to them, I was just asking them a bunch of questions, why,
Right.
just stuff like this and yada, all that stuff.
Yeah, he was questioning their fashion choices. Why do you dress like this?
No, I was just like, why do this? It was funny because I said it's just the energy that, or I guess the lack of energy that you guys give off.
Jeez. Oh, this is what I was going to show you, Drew. This is, I'll get it to scroll. I found the obituary for Hayden's grandfather, and I thought you might. No.
I don't know what that is.
The obituary is the write-up in the newspaper when someone dies. Thought you might find that interesting. Look closely. Uniform. Yeah, I didn't know that. Did you know that? No. His grandfather was in the Air Force. That's pretty cool.
My great grandma went to USO dance parties.
Oh, that's so fun. Yes.
Too.
Hazel?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm having trouble.
I did not.
Try in a little while.
I did not talk to you. Oh yeah, I bet Hazel was a blast at those things. They sounded like they were so much fun anyway. So
Grandma Hazel said she had a lot of fun.
I adore Grandma Hazel anyway. She is fun in general. So I bet it was fun. Did anybody see the SpaceX come
We
over?
heard, we didn't see it, but we heard.
You heard the
sound.
boom? We looked for it, but we never saw it. And then we came inside and then Cole heard the boom because he was outside and we were all, I didn't get to hear, we didn't hear anything. So you get your information on the lab, Colson? I think Cole posted it, right? Okay, good. Maybe a new to-do list. I have a friend who's about to put her house on the market. There's one right down the road from me that just went up for sale. And I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
you want to live here?
We saw that on the way here. I'm like, oh, that might be a great place for my grandma and grandpa, for my aunt and uncle to live. And then
Oh,
I
in
looked
here?
at,
Yeah,
like,
there's-
how huge the house is. I'm like, no.
There's some smaller ones. If they don't, okay, so if they don't mind living on the main road, there's a smaller one for sale on Sterling.
They said they want like a ranch house.
Yeah, I think that one is a ranch with a basement. There are some ranches in the neighborhood and there's, I think, 1 or 2 for sale right now. And they're ranches, most of them are ranches with basements, but not all of them. So. Yeah, the one that's over on our road is huge, but the one that's on Sterling is pretty decent size. It's not huge and not itty bitty either. It's just 2 of them. Or are they like newlyweds looking to have kids, or are they just like just the 2 of them, then hanging on for years? Hey gang. Hi. Darcy, we missed you at the dance. What happened?
We're so busy. We just sort of forgot a little bit.
We had fun.
We were busy.
And Darcy had gymnastics that night.
You what?
Darcy had gymnastics.
You had gymnastics at night. Where do you do gymnastics?
I do gymnastics at GMT.
Ah, that's right. Couldn't remember where you were. Hello, Miss Guy. What's up? How are you doing?
Oh, Rocky's
You good?
my agent got me this head.
Good. Let me see if there's anything else I need to do over here before we start. Yeah, Claire, let me see. Your aunt and uncle could look at, if it's just the 2 of them.
Uncle Chance might, cousin Chance might come down too.
Oh, okay. Because there's, like I said, there's the one on our street, but then there's one on Sterling. Oh, it looks like somebody grabbed it already. They go so fast. They go crazy fast. There's another one on Sterling though. This one I think is a ranch, 4 bed, 3 bath, almost 2,400 square feet. It's most of the time they get excited when there's a ranch and they tell you it's a ranch because people really want them here. And people want ranches in the area and they're hard to get. Yeah, I don't think that one is a ranch, actually. I think it has an upstairs. Darn, I swear there was one though.
My grandpa and grandpa have a great house.
Yeah.
It's like really big. They have about 3 acres of yard.
Mm-hmm.
A big fence around their backyard so their dog can run around. And it's just like, it's all one layer, except for like, you walk up the stairs, you have this big room above the garage where they have the TV and then 2 beds and then a couple recliners.
Right.
And they have a big attic above all the stairs that nobody uses.
Yeah, the one on our street I just looked is 4,200 square feet. So that would be too big for them, probably.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of feet.
I don't want to.
All right. So why don't we start our lesson? Because we are getting to the end, gang. We are almost there. We're almost there. Yay. All right. So I made a little sheet with names so I can remember who to pay because I get lost and don't know whose stack is. Hopefully that's fixed now. All right. So circulatory system. Fun stuff. Hey, Lily, is that you? Yay. Somebody make Lily a space. Somebody squish over or whatever. There we go. Coolness. All right. Oh, I love your braids. Those are so cool. All righty. Here we go. Circulatory system. So we're going to be talking about the function. All right. The function of the circulatory system. So it's going to transport what and what? What 2 things does the circulatory system transport throughout the body?
Oxygen and blood.
Oxygen is 1. Okay, what's in the blood? Oxygen and what else? Okay. Kind of. We're going for nutrients. We're going for oxygen and nutrients. Very good. So it sends it throughout the body. So that's not good. I have them all floating. Hold on a second. That is going to cause problems. That is going to cause major problems. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gracious. That's a pain.
Uh-oh.
Well, we'll just have to deal with it today. You may get some early answers. It might be easy. Okay, bing. Go back to this. Have Mia Dwight in there. Yes. Okay, so you saw this. So the next one is, and it removes something. What's it remove? Oh, everybody's hand.
Waste.
Lewis. Okay, waste. There we go. All right. It's going to remove waste from tissues. That's so important. See, it works with the immune system to protect against illness. So Dwight says, somebody says your love keeps me alive, and Dwight says false. Your circulatory, respiratory, nervous systems keep you alive, because that is something Dwight would definitely say, right? Right. So you have your myocardium. What's your myocardium? Anybody know? So your myocardium is a membrane that goes around your heart. And then you have, woo, and it's a muscle, there's a muscle there that contracts and pumps blood throughout your body. So if you have a look here, you can see where blood comes in and where blood goes out. So typically when you see diagrams, blue is deoxygenated blood, which means it's coming from the tissues to the heart. And red is oxygenated blood, and it's coming from the heart and lungs to the tissues. So this would be vein and this would be artery. So right here is what they call your superior vena cava. And this one down here is called your inferior vena cava. What parts of your body do you think your superior vena cava would be coming from? What do you think, Darcy?
Like the air chamber.
No. What part of your body do you think that this vein would be serving? Would you guess again?
Brain.
There you go, brain, your head. That's right. See how big it is? It's nearly as big as this one here. And what do you think this one's serving? The rest of you, pretty much the rest of your body. Yeah, correct. So this guy here is doing brain and anything that's coming from your upper part of your body, but a lot from your brain. And then this one right here is for the lower part of your body. So it's superior and inferior. It doesn't mean he's not as good because he's inferior. It means it's coming from the lower part. They join together right here and they pour into this chamber that we call the right atrium. Now you can think of it this way. If you've ever been in a building that has an atrium is usually kind of like a big open chamber space. And sometimes it's where people wait. It's sometimes hotels have an atrium, like a lobby. A lot of the times they have big windows in them, but it's not usually where they're conducting business or doing stuff. It's where you kind of wait. It's where people kind of pour in and wait. So that's exactly what happens here. The deoxygenated blood from your body pours in and it kind of waits for the next phase. All right. And then what happens is this valve opens and there's a little push here, but not a huge push. And you can see the muscle. This is muscle. Okay. Look at the muscle here. See how much thicker it is? That's because this down here is your ventricle and this does the pushing. Okay. So it pours here through this valve that's called a tricuspid valve. If it's a tricuspid valve, what do you think it looks like?
A triangle.
Close. Huh?
Three
Three.
sides?
Three. I'll give you three. Three what? What's a cuspid? You know? Do you have any in your mouth? Yeah. So these canines. These are your cuspids.
You just lost one of those.
Yeah. Okay. See how they're pointy? So it's three kind of triangular parts, pointy parts that come together. So you were right with triangle and he was right with three. So it's three kind of triangular parts that come together and that valve opens, boom, into your right ventricle. Have you ever heard of anybody having a heart murmur? You ever heard of a murmur?
Yes.
I have a murmur. Actually, I have two. I actually have two valves that are kind of loosey-goosey. So a lot of time what a heart murmur is it's a valve that doesn't close or open all the way. It's not as it doesn't seal as well as it should. So I actually have mitral and tricuspid valve, what they call prolapse. So what that means is it's totally benign. It causes no problems, but you can hear it. So if somebody listens to me, you know, doctor, I don't know, and you come to put the stethoscope on, I'm like mitral and tricuspid valve prolapse. You know, I know I have a murmur. So what happens is the blood's supposed to go this way. And I've had an echocardiogram and you can actually see little bits of my blood come pop back up because it doesn't close all the way. So it's really not a problem. It's just something that if you hear it, you'll be like, oh. So then it comes into this ventricle. If you look at this ventricle, see how muscular it is? This does the pushing and it pumps it up here. Now see, it's still blue because it's deoxygenated. And where does it go from here? It's branching to the right and the left. Where does it go?
The
You know?
aorta.
No, not there, not there. Where does it go? It's got no oxygen in it. Or it's deoxygenated. So it's going from the heart to what? Yeah, Colson. Not the left ventricle. This is the right. It's going boom. Where's it going? Think about it.
Your veins?
Where does if your blood has no oxygen when it enters your heart, and then it's oxygen rich, it's oxygen poor when it enters your heart, and it's oxygen rich when it leaves your heart. Where does it have to go in between? Darcy.
Right, ventricle.
Drew. Your lungs. Okay, so comes into this right ventricle and it gets pumped. See, it's blue here. It's blue because it's still deoxygenated, and it goes to the right and to the left because it goes to your lungs. This is where it goes to your lungs. Now,
So it goes through it. It goes through.
yeah, it kind of loops around. It's wild, isn't it? So right here, you've got these pulmonary veins. Okay, but they're called veins because they're going to the heart, but they're red. So what does that mean?
They're oxygenated.
They're oxygenated, right, Claire? So if they're oxygenated, where do you think they're coming from?
They're coming from the oxygen chamber.
What's the oxygen? What's the oxygen part of your body? They're coming from the lungs. Colson's got it. So did I give you two? So they're coming from the lungs, exactly. So here it goes to the lungs. See how it goes right and left? And here, these right and left is coming back from the lungs. Pulmonary vein, okay? I actually know a little girl who has all kinds of heart problems. She's not little now. She's in college, but I've known her since she was little. But one of her biggest problems is she has pulmonary vein stenosis. Her pulmonary veins tend to like shrink up and get really small. So she's had open heart surgery, I think 5 or 6 times, and she has a pacemaker and everything. She had all that before she was like 15. So, but they've managed to make it work. All right, so it comes in here, and where does it come in? It comes right into this little left atrium. And what do things do in an atrium? Are they active or are they what?
They're just waiting around.
They're just waiting around. That's right, Darcy. They're just waiting around for this mitral valve to open up. It's like doors, right?
Like that one.
Yep.
Oh,
It's like double doors. This mitral valve opens up and boom, they fall into your into your left ventricle. So they end up here in your left ventricle. All is good, where everything is great, and it's going to get pushed where? Pushed. This is a big push. This is the biggest push. Where's it going?
Out of the aorta.
The what? The aorta. Right. Okay. So it's going up here to the aorta. Boom. Your aorta is your main big oxygenated blood vessel. Some people have there's people can have a heart condition or something that's called like aortic dissection, or they can have an aortic rupture. And if that happens, it's really, your chances are not great, because this is supplying blood to where? Where is this blood going off from here?
Your head.
Everywhere.
Oh.
Your whole body.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
Yeah. So again, let's do it again. It's deoxygenated and it comes in through the vena cava, right? It goes into the what?
Right.
Everybody say it together. So let's do it together. Deoxygenated blood comes in through the vena cava, goes into the,
Right atrium.
yep, then goes into the,
Right ventricle.
and is pumped into the
Pulmonary artery.
pulmonary vein to the
Lungs.
lungs, right? From the lungs back to pulmonary vein, so pulmonary artery. This is leaving the heart, pulmonary vein. Those are the left atrium, then to the left ventricle, then to the aorta and everywhere else.
Yes.
This is the tricky thing. The tricky thing is to remember, veins typically carry deoxygenated blood, except right in this system. Veins are coming to your heart, arteries are going away, because your pulmonary veins is backwards when you think about it, because they are oxygenated, and your pulmonary artery here is deoxygenated. Yeah.
What does it mean when you get like a lot of heartburn? It's like, what's wrong with the heart?
When you get heart what?
Heartburn.
Heartburn. It's not actually your heart. It's actually reflux from your stomach. It's when your the valve at the top of your stomach doesn't close well, and you get acid reflux up into your esophagus, but it hurts right here. And they call it heartburn because that's what it feels like. So in 1 year, the human body will pump enough blood to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Now, you don't have that much blood in your body, right? But if you could pump and constantly, replace
you could fill a whole Olympic-sized pool. That's a lot of movement,
Oh.
right? That's a lot of movement.
It's a literal pool of
That
blood.
would be
Mhm.
a vampire, that would be a vampire oasis.
Right.
Swimming in the blood.
So there's an average for how much blood should be in your body based on like your age and your size. And they've been able to, this is your interesting crime fact for the day. They can use the amount of blood at a crime scene to tell whether or not the victim was likely murdered or may have survived. In no body murder cases where they cannot find a body, if they test the DNA of the blood, find out it belongs to a particular person and there is enough of it at a crime scene to prove that person's dead, that can actually help them prosecute whomever they think is responsible, even if they never find a body.
That's genuinely interesting.
It is genuinely
I've
interesting.
run a crime scene and there's a lot of blood.
Yep. Well, go to the next thing. Why don't you want to go? All right, so you have your heart. So what is, I don't know what that's supposed to say there. Oh, there we go. Upper chambers receive blood from the body. What are these upper chambers called?
The atrium.
Good job, Claire. Atrium. And
And then.
these lower chambers pump blood out of the heart, and they are the, Lewis? Ventricles. All right, so your atrium and your ventricles. That's exactly how it works. All right, so what are we pointing to?
You're pointing to the thing I
Aorta.
can pronounce
Coulson.
that starts with the A.
Aorta. What's the aorta? Very good. All right, so it's the largest blood vessel in the body, pushes oxygen-rich blood to the body. Super important. It's big. It's like thumb sized. Okay, so
Oh,
it's
that's
really big. Yeah. If you ever watch, you can pull them up on YouTube. But there used to be a TV show called, what was it called? It wasn't called The Operation or something. I forget what it was called, but they showed all kinds of surgeries, like videos of surgeries. But you can see open heart surgery online. Interestingly, these valves are often the things that give out in people that have heart problems. And so they initially began replacing them with valves from pigs because their tissue is so similar to ours. So they would put the valve from a pig's heart into a human heart and it would work. Now they use, it's not quite as accessible, I guess.
Yeah, they know what's going on.
And people would get upset about monkeys because people tend to think monkeys are kind of more, you don't eat monkeys because they're kind of more, yeah. See, we draw a line. Have you ever seen there's like a poster or a meme and it's like
All that-
apocalypse food chain. And it's like, you got chickens and cows and turkeys. And then it's like horse, dog, monkey. It's like, where do you stop? Like at the apocalypse, you might eat the monkey or the dog or the horse. So anyway,
Not the dog.
not the dog. I don't know, man. So yeah, so now they actually have artificial ones. And of course they have ones now that they can like grow and they're starting to do like the 3D printing stuff for everything.
No more
Uh-huh.
pigs. We get more babies.
When we were dissecting the pig,
Uh-huh.
we cut open the heart and we saw all those parts.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. So here we have between the atria, that's your plural for atrium. And it's between the atria and the ventricles, and it prevents backflow of blood. What are the things that prevent blood from going backwards, Claire?
It's like fluidary.
No, Colson?
Heart.
Colson's got it. The valves, right? So your valves, your mitral and tricuspid valves are what prevent backflow. If you have some kind of a murmur, like the little one I have, you can hear the strange sound. And if you look at it on an echocardiogram, you can see it. Now, what can cause a heart murmur? Sometimes you're born with it. I know what caused mine. Anybody ever had strep? Oh yeah.
Nope.
Strep, if you leave it long enough, can turn into an infection that affects your heart. And it can actually do damage to your heart valves. So there was the year after I graduated college, I was teaching at a preschool. One of the kids gave me strep. And I went and got an antibiotic and turned out to be allergic to that antibiotic. So they had to give me another antibiotic. So it took forever to get well. And then as soon as I went back to work, I caught it from another kid and I had strep 2 times in a row and it took weeks and weeks to get over it. And it wasn't until after that that a doctor listened to me and said, do you know you have a heart murmur? Never had it before. So that's likely what did it. Uh-huh.
How do you know that you have strep throat?
They do that test where they put a swab in your throat and they wipe it around real quick. And then they can test it really fast. It's called rapid strep. It's usually like 20 minutes, they can tell. And it's bacterial, so you can't take an antibiotic for it.
When I was little, I used to get strep every single week,
I hate it.
like every single week.
Yeah.
It got so bad where I had to get my tonsils.
Yeah. And strep, for some people just get it. And I'm one of those people, like if it's around, I'm getting it. And my doctor has already told me if I get it one more time, my tonsils are coming out, which for an adult is apparently horrible. Like it's not fun for a kid, but for an adult, it's apparently really rough.
I don't have my tonsils out and I've never had stuff.
So what's the pacemaker in the heart? Ooh, Darcy.
The pacemaker is hold on, give me a second.
Did you know, Claire?
No.
No. Anybody know? All right. So the pacemaker in the heart is in the right atrium and it tells the heart to beat. This is called the SA node. It's right. Whoops. It's right there. And it's just honestly, it's this little, go back. It's this little spot
How fast your heart beats
right here.
controlled by the patient.
And it's not like a big structure that you can see, but it's highly innervated. Lots of nerves are there because it's sending messages. All right. So let's look at this real quick. This is going to give you a good visual of how this all goes together. If it will play. Look at that. You can see your valves. You can see all the different parts of the heart here. It's pretty cool. So that's what it looks like if you were to be able to chop it up in all kinds of different. Did you have a question?
No.
Oh, hand just went up.
It looks weird though.
The same space.
Yep. All right. So now the flow of blood. Here we go.
Yeah.
So oxygen poor blood from the body. We did this together. Goes to the Lewis.
Right, where
Atrium. The atrium.
No, where's it go first? How's it get there?
Like the vena.
Yes, Claire, the vena cava. Okay, vena cava. And then where does it go from the, right atrium, it should be there. I'll put that, I'll give you that one, Lewis. Okay, so from the right atrium, where does it go? To
It
the
goes to the right ventricle.
right ventricle. All right, now let me put somebody whose hand is up. Then where does it go? Colson. To the lungs. Very good. All right. Then we have oxygen rich blood from, hold on. Throwing Colson's money. That's not good. Oxygen rich blood from the lungs goes to where? Claire.
Left atrium.
There you go, your left atrium. All right. And then, no, where's your pile? Okay. And then where does it go? Colson. There you go, your left ventricle. You guys are good. All right. And then, hang on, where does it go after the left ventricle? Darcy, you know?
It goes into.
Do you know Lily? Drew? Where? There you go, the aorta, and then
Whole body.
it goes to your whole body. Everybody knows that one. All right, cool. Now you got it.
Wait.
So it takes about 20 seconds for a red blood cell to circle the whole body. So this is why, if you think about this, so it takes 20 seconds for your blood to get pumped to your tissues and back. This is why, are you listening? So this is why, you ever seen people get anesthesia, or like even in movies, sometimes when people take a drug and like instantly they're like, like so fast, it happens so fast. Also, diabetics can take like a sugar pill when they're, or a piece of candy if their sugar's getting low, and it's so fast, feel different. That's why. That's a lot of pumping. So people that do, like, if you take a pill, for example, any pill that you take, vitamin, prescription medication, Tylenol, it has to go through your digestive system first, which means it has to fight all your digestive juices, make its way down to your stomach, fight your digestive juices, get absorbed through, the walls of your intestines, and then it takes effect. That's why when you take a Tylenol or something, it's going to take a few minutes before you feel better. But a doctor can put a mask on you and put, anesthesia gas, one of the many options. And as soon as you breathe it in, a couple of breaths and you're asleep. That's because that goes into your lungs, and all this blood is going to your lungs to get oxygenated. And what does it pick up? All that drug, whatever it is, it takes it right back out to your body. And that's why you knock out really fast. That's also why you can do it with an IV. You can do it with IV illicit drugs, and you can do it with IV anesthesia or whatever. When I had my wisdom teeth out, they gave me a little IV and left me sitting in the room, and I was just sitting there And I'm not one of these experimental people who's like, I'm gonna try every drug on the street. Never had tried any, honest to God. Sitting there, and this nurse comes in and she says, she takes the little thing hanging off the IV and sticks a syringe in it. And she says, in a minute, you're gonna feel a little bit goofy. She didn't get the second syllable of goofy out. She got to goo while she was injecting it. And I went, oh. And it was the weirdest thing. I remember sitting there for the longest time, and there was a picture of the baseball park on the wall, the local baseball park, kind of like the, what are they now, the Stripers, but they used to be the Braves, Gwinnett, you know, that kind of thing. And I'm looking at it because I worked there, and I was like, I know that. And there was all this like halos on the pictures and the lights and things in the room. And then, you know what a tennis chair is? You're laying back like this, right? The strangest thing happened. My left leg fell off the chair, and I looked at it, and I'm like, I don't know how to get it back up. Like I could not. And this happened like this, y'all. Like she injected me, walked out of the room. I'm so I grabbed my jeans like this, bunched them up, and I hoisted my leg back up onto the chair and put it down. And that's the last thing I remember before I was sound asleep. So it works very fast. So, all right, here we go. What type of cells here carry blood from the heart to the tissues? Yes.
Red blood cells.
There you go. Your red blood cells do. And then, oops. And this is, we're talking about vessels here too. So let's ask about vessels. What are the red vessels that carry blood from the heart to the tissues? What are the vessels called, Darcy?
They're called PLATEL.
No, we're not at platelets yet. Yeah. Capillaries come, they're going to be next, but I'm looking for, what do you have to go to before you get to capillaries? Coming from your heart to the rest of your body. Colson. Arteries are what we're looking for. So you get arteries.
I don't say arteries.
And then Drew said capillaries, which is true. These are the smallest blood vessels, and these join arteries to veins. And then what are we usually call them blue, and they carry blood from the heart from the body to the heart. What are these? Colson. You got it, veins. All right, so.
Sometimes at some points of the day, I can see like spiderweb veins. And
I have a
then-
really dark vein right
Yeah,
here.
I'm usually a very easy stick because you can feel mine very well and you can see mine very well. All right, so arteries and veins, there's a difference. Arteries have really, really strong walls. They're also deeper in your body. When you look, what you're seeing are veins. Your veins are closer to the surface. Your arteries are deeper in your body because it's really, really important to keep them safe, for one thing. And they are oxygenating and providing nutrients to all your tissues. Veins, however, now think about arteries have pressure, right? Because the heart is pushing, that is blood pressure. And your veins have pressure, but it's a different pressure. It's not as strong. So your veins have valves. Your arteries don't. Your veins have valves. So as your blood goes here, waits here, it waits. So with every little push, it makes its way back. So they use these veins, these valves in your veins to keep your blood from flowing back into your tissues. Now, when they take your blood pressure, they give you two numbers, right? Do you know what the standard is, what the perfect blood pressure is? Do you know?
75.
Yep, it's 120/80. That's your standard adult blood pressure. The first one is the pressure in your veins. Your arteries, sorry. The second one is the pressure in your veins. You want the one in your veins to be lower than your arteries, obviously, but you don't want them to be too close or way apart. You don't want one to be too high. So here's your clue. Here's your pressure. Pressure up, pressure down. Capillaries in the middle. You got the highest pressure here. What's going to have the lowest pressure? If arteries are here, what's going to be here, Lewis? Veins. Okay, both to Drew and Lewis. There you go. All right, your veins are going to be there. That's right. And let's look back here. What's going to come? This is when your arteries start to get smaller now. What's the next smallest vessel? Yeah.
Capillary.
Nope, not yet. We're not at capillary yet. There's capillary. Something comes in between. Do we know what it is? Okay, so this one is arterioles. All right, so your arteries are big and they branch and they get smaller and smaller, right? Just like the branches on a tree. And the smaller ones are called arterioles. Then they go to the capillaries. What's here? What's in between veins and capillaries? What are the smaller blood vessels? These are venules. So you have artery to arterial to capillary to venule to vein. So if you want to be really specific, you have heart to artery, to capillary, to venule, to vein, to heart, to lungs, to heart, to artery, to arterial, to capillary, to vein, right? Like just like that, round and round and round. So this is what your blood looks like. When they draw blood from you, this is what they do. Your human body has 4 to 6 liters of blood. Okay, that's it. You can't lose too much of this or you're in a bad way, right? And it's composed of several different things: plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and lastly, platelets. Okay, so when they take your blood, they put it in a, you ever have them, they do the little tiny, it's called a capillary tube. It's a little tiny glass tube. They touch it to like the stick on your finger and the blood sucks up in it. They put a little bit of, it's like a little, almost like a putty. They stick the bottom in putty that closes the bottom off, and they put it in a centrifuge, which is a machine that spins really hard. And it spins kind of, well, the paint mixer kind of does this. This just spins, okay? It spins so hard that it pushes the parts of your blood that are more dense to the bottom and allows the less dense ones to float up, right? Just shoving it down.
Wow.
When it does that, it comes out looking like this. You have red stuff at the bottom. These are your red blood cells. And then they have something called a buffy coat. And it's kind of a, well, it's a buffy color. It's sort of a cloudy color. That's your white blood cells and your platelets. And then you have this plasma above it. The plasma is the liquid in your blood that's everything else. It's your water, proteins, nutrients, hormones. It's everything that isn't white, red, or platelet. This right here, the measure of your red is called your hematocrit. If you've ever heard of anemia, this is what they're doing. They actually measure, it's an actual measurement like a ruler. How high is this and how low is this? If this is really high, you have an elevated hematocrit and they're calling it polycythemia. If it's low, it's a low hematocrit, you have anemia, and it's normal if it's like this. And these are the ranges. Yeah.
Do we have to give blood in today's lab?
No.
Okay, good. But if you did.
Although I might,
Open a fresh wound.
if I have time, I might go get my microscope back. And Jason has a diabetes kit, though he's not diabetic. He just has some borderline blood sugar issues. I might just get a prick and get y'all a slide of watch because it's cool to watch. Okay, fun fact. What's a fun fact? The milk in young coconuts can be used as a substitute for blood plasma.
Okay.
Interesting. And they discovered this in India during World War II when blood supplies were running low. Boy, you get creative. So again, here's your composition of blood: plasma, platelets, red blood cells, white blood cells. Fluid component of blood, and then the nutrients that's plasma. That's the fluid part. Okay, blank blood cells and blank blood cells. Okay, what carries hemoglobin? All right, Darcy, hemoglobin.
White blood cells.
Nope, Claire.
Red blood cells.
Red blood cell, blah, blah, blah. Can't say that. Say red blood cells 4 times fast. That's what's going to carry your hemoglobin. See how it looks almost like a donut with no hole? It's like squashed. This is actually almost like a basket for carrying those molecules, which is why it's that shape. If they're misshapen, like you have sickle cell or something like that, some other diseases, then they don't carry it as well. And so these other ones, what fights infection, Darcy? Those are your white blood cells. Okay, there you go. Your white blood cells are going to fight infection. So here's your platelets. This is what they do. So here's a blood vessel and it's had damage. Oh no, it's been cut.
Kill you, by the way.
Yeah, they're in the wrong place. So yep, here's a clot. And a clot is formed by platelets. See these little guys here? They actually they flow through the blood and they get to something like this and they actually kind of explode and they're full of fibrous stuff and they kind of stretch it all out and they form a net, like a meshy net of stuff. And that's how you get a blood clot. You want clots in injuries. You don't want random clots in your body that don't belong. You can get them in your legs, and that's not good. They really, really, really hurt. They can also break loose and get into your heart or get up into the blood vessels in your brain. Yeah, they can kill you, absolutely. There is something called a pulmonary embolism. That's when it gets into your lungs. That's really bad.
When my mom had surgery a while ago.
Yeah.
She had to wear these preventing blood clot socks.
Pressure socks. Yep. Your mom had those too because she had the same thing. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Pressure socks.
That was a long time ago.
Yep. So a stick to broken blood vessels and they're essential in clotting. So what's lymph? Okay, this is a little different. They usually show you the lymphatic system in green or kind of yellow green. So here, do this. Everybody do this right under your ear. Put your finger right under your ear. Draw down your jawbone and feel out somewhere in here. You will feel these lymph nodes. These little feel like beans right around here.
can't-
You feel them? They feel like a little bean. No?
It's underneath my jaw.
Yeah, it's kind of underneath your jawbone, sort of right in there.
Oh, yeah.
I got
Oh,
one
yeah,
right
I
here.
got 'em.
Okay, when you're sick, they swell. Your doctor ever come down your face and go like this when you're sick? You go for a sick visit, that's what they're feeling for. If they're swollen, it's because your lymphatic system is working extra hard and it needs more space, more volume to work in. So they swell and they hurt. You can sometimes, when people are have an infection, you can sometimes even see them sticking out. Well, that's not the only place they are. These are the ones that you're used to seeing, right? These guys here, but you've also got them in your armpits. You can feel them in your armpits. You've got them down into your groin area, all through
Oh, yeah,
here.
felt them there.
Yeah. If you had, like when I got my COVID shot, my lymph nodes in my armpit, that arm that got it really hurt. You could feel them in there and they really, really hurt. Yep. So you've got them everywhere, all over different places, and your spleen is involved too. So your lymphatic system is fluid that contains, you all right? He has a latent cough because he had a cold over the weekend. You can get that too. If you have a cold over the weekend, your body's already fought the infection, but then it like leaves behind all the yuck and you still have to like cough it out.
Oh.
That's fun. So it's fluid that contains important nutrients and sometimes microorganisms. That's not usually good. You want some bacteria and stuff to live in your digestive system, but you don't want things in your body that don't belong. There are some worms, for example, that they will like lay eggs. That gets into your blood and that helps them spread all over the place. That's
Oh, yeah.
gross.
They can kill you if you're in your heart.
So they're filtered. Lymph is filtered by your lymph nodes, and good lymph is returned back to your blood. So let's have amoeba sisters. We all love amoeba sisters. Here's your circulatory system. All right. They're always so cute.
Keep my body.
Yay.
Without you, I wouldn't.
Super cute.
Did you have breakfast this morning?
Yeah.
Did you ever wonder after you eat breakfast and your food is digested, how is that glucose getting transported around your body? Or as you take a breath in, how does that oxygen get transported around? Or when you exhale, how does that carbon dioxide get transferred out? Are these only questions I pondered during breakfast?
How much coffee?
But your
do you have?
circulatory system is absolutely fascinating and highly involved in this. In this short intro video of the circulatory system, we will mention some basics about its functions and trace the pathway of how blood travels through your heart. But
I'm gonna
please
go
note
grab my
before we get
microscope
started,
if y'all
there
can
are
see. You're quiet.
gigantic textbooks on the circulatory system itself. So obviously this video is just an intro. We're going to first talk about blood, the medium of how we transport glucose and gases. As we mentioned in our body systems intro video from many years ago, there are some misconceptions. Human blood is red and always red, although the shade of red can vary based on how much oxygen is in the blood. Veins and arteries are often drawn in diagrams as blue or red to show whether they have lower or higher concentrations of oxygen. But that's just how it is used in most diagrams. It doesn't mean the blood or the veins or the arteries are actually that color. Veins that you see under your skin may look blue or green, but that is the way they appear under the skin. And the reason for this would make a great physics topic. But
No, you want this answer.
human blood has a lot of functions. It maintains a certain pH, temperature, osmotic pressure. All of this is very important for homeostasis. It transports things like hormones, nutrients, and gases. And it's made up of different components. One component includes plasma, the liquid portion. Water, protein, salts, lipids, you'll find them in this liquid portion of blood known as plasma. Another component includes cellular components. This means red blood cells, which do the transporting of gases, white blood cells, which can fight infections, and platelets, which are actually cellular fragments, and they're involved with helping your blood clot. Very important when there is damage to the body. Red blood cells have an iron-containing protein called hemoglobin, and that is where the red coloring of blood comes from. So when we're talking about blood, and we're just introing the circulatory system, we're going to focus on how this blood moves around in the human body. Human heart anatomy observes the heart divided into two distinct and separated partitions, a deoxygenated or low oxygen partition and an oxygenated partition. There are some human congenital heart conditions that can result in this oxygenated and deoxygenated blood mixing, however. More on that at the end. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Think A for away. Arteries are typically oxygen rich, but there are exceptions. Veins generally carry blood to the heart. Veins typically are oxygen poor, but there are exceptions. Capillaries are small blood vessels, and it is at the capillary level where oxygen is delivered to organs and tissues and where carbon dioxide will be picked up to travel back to the lungs. So looking at this heart, the right side, and that's the person's right, so for you it will look opposite, pumps deoxygenated blood, and the left side pumps oxygenated blood. We can also see 4 chambers, the right atrium and right ventricle, and the left atrium and the left ventricle. I like to remember that A comes before V in the alphabet, so that helps you remember that A's for atria are at the top of the heart, V for ventricles are at the bottom of the heart. Atria also have thinner walls than the thicker walled ventricles. The heart also contains valves, which we'll see when we get to tracing the pathway of blood. The valves are one-way structures that help separate the chambers and also prevent backflow of blood. Ready to take the adventure of a lifetime? An adventure tracing the pathway of blood through the heart? We're going to start with blood that is in a human toe. This blood is deoxygenated. It needs to get to the heart so that it can be pumped to the lungs to pick up the oxygen and then be spread throughout the body. It's going to get there through the vena cava, inferior vena cava to be specific, as the superior vena cava is above the heart. The blood enters the right atrium. The right atrium contracts, pushing the blood through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. The right ventricle contracts, pumping the blood through the pulmonary valve to the pulmonary artery. By the way, when you see the word pulmonary, it likely involves lungs. The pulmonary artery takes blood to the lungs. The lungs are where red blood cells in the blood will take on oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Now this blood is oxygenated. It needs to return to the heart so that the heart can pump it throughout the body. The oxygenated blood travels through a pulmonary vein to the left atrium. The left atrium contracts and the blood travels through the mitral valve, also known as the bicuspid valve, into the left ventricle. The left ventricle contracts and pumps the blood through the aortic valve and out a major artery known as the aorta. The aorta is a major artery that carries oxygenated blood throughout the body. Now, I don't want to neglect the fact that the heart needs its own blood supply for delivery of oxygen and glucose. The heart can receive this blood supply through coronary arteries.
That's what a heart attack
Coronary
is.
arteries branch off the
When one of
aorta
those
and
gets
eventually
blocked.
deliver blood into capillaries. These capillaries deliver oxygen and glucose to the heart. Coronary veins will take the deoxygenated blood to the right atrium, where the blood will eventually travel a pathway to become oxygenated. In fact, to quiz yourself, can you pause the video and trace the pathway of blood again, starting with the right atrium?
We can do it together, right?
Okay, all together. Right
Atrium, tricuspid valve, right ventricle, pulmonary valve, pulmonary artery, lungs, pulmonary vein, left atrium, left mitral valve, left ventricle, aortic valve, aorta. Boom.
The body, and then it will eventually return to the back to the right atrium again.
There you go.
It almost makes you want to turn it into a song, but we won't. The significance of the
There probably
pathway,
are
how we
songs.
interact, the coordination of contraction, and many more elements are part of every beat of your heart. A human heart beats over 100,000 times per day, so it's significant that every beat is coordinated and blood is directed where it should go. The complexity of the cardiac cycle, which is the coordinated sequence of the heart's contractions and relaxations, isn't something this short video can go into. Hopefully a separate video on that soon. One last thing, there are many conditions in which the heart doesn't function correctly. Anatomically, some heart conditions change the pathway flow of blood. One example that we had mentioned before is an atrial septal defect. The septum is the muscular wall that separates the right and left side of the heart. So a septal defect could mean an opening, and oxygen-rich blood could mix with oxygen-poor blood. Depending on the size, this can cause further problems, such as an abnormal heartbeat, stroke, or potentially heart failure in severe cases. Some medications can help the symptoms, or surgery can be an option. There continues to be more advancements for treating cardiovascular conditions. If you have interest in the amazing field of cardiology, take a look at the suggested further reading links in the video details.
It does look like a high heel.
That's it for the
So here's
next
something else to think about. How about a fetus?
Whoa.
Think for a second about a fetus, okay? A fetus doesn't get its oxygenated blood from its lungs. It gets its oxygenated blood from the placenta from the mother. And then its deoxygenated blood goes back out. So a fetal heart is actually a little different. And there are little like holes within it that actually close up at birth, like instantly. If you don't have a research project yet, that might be a neat one. So really quick, we got to do respiratory system. So when you breathe, these are your little, what are these guys called? Do you know? Anybody know? Anybody know? Huh? Yes, they're alveoli. So this is where your arteries and your veins get these little capillaries, and your oxygenated blood comes back out because these expand. They look like little grapes. So real quickly, we're going to do the air pathway, just like we did the blood pathway. So which of these is first? Nasal or mouth or whatever. Yep. Whoop, here it goes. Hang on, it's got to go all the way up there. Okay, so you just saw nose. Okay, what's after nose? Pharynx is right. Okay, remember pharynx is the part of your throat that is both digestive and respiratory before it splits. Then where's it go?
Esophagus?
Trachea, larynx, and then trachea. So your larynx is your voice box, and when you breathe in, it opens. If you ever hear a singer going and making noise when they breathe in, that can cause vocal damage. There's actually a great Ed Sheeran live version of something I heard, and now every time I hear it, all I can hear is him going, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna wreck your cords. Anyway, then it goes to your trachea. Your trachea is kind of, you remember the one in your pig? It was kind of like one of those corrugated drain pipes, right? Goes from your trachea to your bronchi. These are the big branches. Bronchi to, hang on, lungs. And actually, the smaller ones are called bronchioles. So it's like, these are bronchioles, these little ones. And then it goes to your well, yes, bronchi are in your lungs, bronchioles. And then lastly, your alveoli. And then it goes back out. So structures, we got to go real fast. I don't know what that is. Your pharynx. This is this part that is both a combination of your digestive and respiratory system, food and air. And then lastly is the larynx. This is your voice box. And that's right in here. And it has two cords, and they kind of go like this. Okay. They don't do that. They do this kind of thing. And I actually had a virus once that caused a little damage to my left cord. And I went to see a otolaryngologist is what they're called. And I actually she put a camera down in my pharynx that I couldn't feel because she numbed it. She put a camera back in my pharynx and had me sing like sirens, like, ah, ah, and you could, on the screen, there were hertz levels coming out, and I had a video of it. And it was really cool. So lastly here, our structures are continued. You have your trachea or your windpipe, and that you have the epiglottis that that's what keeps food and stuff out of your lungs. And this is covered, the epiglottis covers it when you swallow. So food doesn't go down your wrong pipe. And then lastly, you're going to have your bronchi. Those are these big guys. They branch, two large tubes, one to each lung, and they branch into your bronchioles. These are the little parts of the tree, just like venules, arterioles, bronchi, bronchioles. And then you get to your alveoli, which look like this, little sacs, okay, tiny air sacs. I got one thing I got one video I'm going to show in lab, just a minute. So you have gas exchange, and this is how it works. Your capillaries cover your alveoli. Your oxygen from your lungs diffuses. Why does it diffuse? Why does it diffuse? Diffusion gradient. Remember concentration gradient? Remember concentration gradient? If you have a membrane, you want the same amount of everything on both sides. So if you have more oxygen over here, it's going to go through. If you have more carbon dioxide over here, it's going to go through. Always concentration gradient. That's how it works. Remember, diffusion works across a concentration gradient. So when you breathe, your diaphragm, which is this right in here, you can actually kind of, if you go like, you can kind of feel it work. You can also feel all the air. This is epigastrium muscle, but you can feel it, and it expands and contracts. When it pulls down, it causes a vacuum and you suck in air. When it relaxes, it pushes the air out. So I'm going to show this to everybody. Is this your last one? I think it is. Oh no, real quick. A hiccup is the diaphragm contracting several times a minute. Quick rush of air forces the vocal cords to shut, causing the hic sound. All right, so let's get these other folks in here for lab. I want to show you this one. Hey, y'all, come on in.
Come on, the Shannons.
Non-party people.
Mhm.
Oh, look, our team came in first, like the good people they are.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to show you all this video together. It's really cool.
Making cancer.
It's got to pause though.
Take a look at
Yeah, some of the-
these two separate.
Nope. Stop. Okay. Everybody in here? Come on, guys.
Come on, people.
Why are they so slow?
Yeah, they're getting all their stuff ready because they
Our
dumped it
team
all
was
over the
first
floor.
in.
I broke a nail.
You know.
No piano. Come here.
People,
Y'all are nuts. Come on.
Come on.
Come on, non-party people.
Everyone is taking forever.
Cole, Ethan, Michael. Who else is over there? That's them, right? That's just it. Come on, people.
Our team's last.
Leave the piano, please. Come on.
Leave the piano.
Guys, come on. Take forever.
You guys are taking
Okay, here we go.
So
So I was going to show, there's the last one. I was going to show you all this. It's in both your slideshows, but I figured I'd show it to you guys together. So this is from the MD Anderson Center, which is primarily known as a place for excellent, excellent cancer treatment. A good friend of ours, actually, Drew's godmother, her mom got like super aggressive bilateral breast cancer. And it was frightening. Like it was just there and it was both breasts. And she went from here to MD Anderson, which is in Texas, to get treatment because it's so good. And they got her done like super fast. They actually, one of the things they can do now, specifically with breast cancer, if they're removing all the breast tissue, Michael, shh. If they're removing all the breast tissue for breast cancer, this doesn't work for other cancers, obviously, but they can take body fat from your abdomen and they keep all of the blood vessels and stuff as connected as possible and they move it up and they go ahead and reconstruct that way. So you don't have to have reconstruction with artificial implants and things like that they do. So it's really kind of interesting. They do all kinds of neat stuff now. So here's your MD Anderson Cancer Center lung stuff. This is pretty cool.
Take a look at these two sets.
Those are
of lungs.
real human lungs.
This set is pink and healthy. They represent the lungs of a healthy person.
Are they still
This set doesn't look so great. They represent the lungs of someone who has smoked a pack of cigarettes, 20 cigarettes, every day for 20 years.
Ugh.
Let's take a closer look at what's happening in the healthy lungs. They're being inflated with air, just like when we breathe. As they fill up with air, both lungs expand like they should and push oxygen into your bloodstream. We need oxygen for our body to work. When we breathe, air passes through our nose or mouth into our trachea or windpipe. In the trachea, air passes cilia. Those are tiny hairs that keep dirt and mucus out of the lungs. From the trachea, air passes into two large tubes. Each tube splits off into many smaller tubes. At the end of these smaller tubes is a cluster of tiny
Lily, have you
air
got music
sacs.
going? I can
There
hear it.
are over 600 million air sacs in our lungs. Imagine how
Lily,
small they
I
must
can hear your
be.
music.
Each air sac is covered in small blood vessels that take the blood directly to your heart. The oxygenated blood goes directly to your heart, and your heart pumps it to all the cells in your body. Now, back to the smoker's lung. These represent the lungs of someone who smoked for 20 years. These lungs are a blackish brown color because of the tar that comes from each cigarette. Tar is a sticky black substance that is created when some chemicals burn and melt together. The tar created by burning tobacco is similar to the tar that is used on roads.
okay?
Tar in your lungs may lead to lung problems that can make it hard to breathe. Even though vaping doesn't force tar into your lungs, it does cause your lungs to get inflamed and clogged with blood, pus, and other fluids. The chemicals in cigarettes also cause lung cancer. If you look here,
Where'd your sound go?
lung cancers have started to
That's a
form.
tumor.
They start in the cells that line the surface of the lungs, like this white area. The lower portion of this lung doesn't inflate. That is what lung diseases like COPD and emphysema look like. People with these diseases find it hard to breathe, and they struggle with even the smallest, easiest activities like walking. Which set of lungs would you like working for you? The choice seems pretty clear.
I've actually seen that in real life. When I was in high school, I did the stop this one. When I was in high school, I did that Boy Scouts Explorers program at the medical school, and we got to do the cadaver lab. Shh, Darcy. And one of the things that I got to do was